If you thought the move from 50 cents to $3 was huge, wait till I tell you about the next move and what that could potentially look like. Could it be to $5, to $8, to $10, $12, $15? I'm going to give scenarios and price predictions in this video, and I'm going to also share with you, well, what are some of the catalysts that could take XRP to those high price levels? So like the video, and let's jump in. Now, we'll get into the chart here in a second, and actually, speaking of the chart, I just want to throw it up on the screen really quick so you can take a look. We're actually in a very, very important position for XRP price-wise at $2.57. But again, we will come back to the chart. Let's start with potential catalysts. One, the first ever XRP ETF went live, not in the largest economy in the world, but in the largest economy in South America, which is Brazil. Now, we know with the current president sitting in the White House here in the United States, he doesn't like to be second or third in anything. So could we see the SEC, we don't have a chair yet, as Paul Atkins hasn't been confirmed, but we do have an interim chair in Mark Ueda, which I can argue is the most pro-crypto commissioner that sits on the SEC's panel. He is acting commissioner. Could they be facing some sort of pressure from the White House, from the crypto czar, from the crypto, the task force they put together? Say, hey, look, we don't want to fall behind. Brazil already launched one. They have ETF filings in country 1, country 2, country 3. What are we waiting for? Could we see that? I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it's just something that kind of makes sense forward looking. Then you have, of course, the ETF applications here in the US, which is the largest capital markets in the world, which will have a much larger financial impact, which in turn will have a larger impact on the price of the XRP token. And that is the ETF here in the US. Take a look at this from thestreet.com. XRP ETF has an 81% chance of approval. Now, we know it's going to get approved, but we were wondering, is it going to be this year? I know there's deadlines. Is it going to be? So 81% approval in 2025, top analysts predict. Now, Grayscale is the one company that people always point to. Now, we know we had Canary Capital. There's a few other ones. But Grayscale Spot XRP ETF takes a big step towards the approval, which was that it was acknowledged by the SEC, which starts the timer, right? They have 3 chances to either approve, deny, or push it back to delay it. Now, I don't think we're going to see what we saw in Gary Gensler's SEC, where everything was delay, deny. Could we potentially see in the very first deadline an approval of an XRP ETF? If it does, you might be thinking, well, Bitcoin had the approval, it ran a little bit, then it sold off. ETH had the approval, it ran prior, and then it sold off. I'll tell you why XRP is different. I'll tell you here in a second. So the acknowledgement triggers a 240-day review period, giving the SEC until mid-October. That would be the third and final deadline to make their final decision. Again, I don't see it going all the way to October. In fact, I see it happening by the very first deadline date. Now, why did I say XRP's ETF will be different than Bitcoin's and Ethereum? Let me break it down for you. When Grayscale converted from the trust to an ETF, they had around $32 billion worth of Bitcoin that was sitting in a trust that they converted to an ETF, and that ended up becoming selling pressure because their fees were too high. No one was going to pay 2.5% to let their Bitcoin sit in the ETF from Grayscale when they can go next door to BlackRock and get 0.25%. We saw large outflows, which suppressed the price of Bitcoin. Look at Ethereum, around $8 to $9 billion. Same thing, same exact premise. Take a look at this from grayscale.com. This is their current XRP trust. And this is the number we want to look at. AUM, assets under management. And this is only $14 million. So realistically, it's nothing. It's a drop in the bucket of what we saw from the Bitcoin and from the Ethereum ETFs. So the worry of we're going to see massive dumping and we're going to see more outflows and inflows, I would disagree with people saying that. It's not going to be the same as Bitcoin. It's not going to be the same as Ethereum. It's going to be completely different. And out of all the ETFs, altcoin ETFs that are currently waiting for an approval, I believe XRP has the lowest AUM when it comes to Grayscale. Then you have another narrative, another potential catalyst that could push XRP's price to that $5, $10 level, and that is the SEC appeal. We know Gary Gensler filed the appeal on his way out, just like Jay Clayton brought the lawsuit on his way out back in 2020. But things might be being shaken up at the SEC. Take a look at this article here from Coindesk.com. XRP in focus as Elon Musk's Doge sets eyes on the SEC. A new X account has spurred speculation among XRP holders who believe public pressure or findings from the initiative could reveal conflicts of interest or misconduct within the SEC. Now, is there a scenario where, well, of course, I think this adds to the possibility of them just completely dropping the appeal, no fines need to be paid, and everything goes bye-bye, we're good. Or if they do find what this article says, conflicts of interest or misconduct, could Ripple go back and sue the SEC and the U.S. government to recoup the money they spent over the last 4 years? Now, I'm not a lawyer, not trying to sit here and say this is definitely in their wheelhouse, they're going to do it. It's just an idea. And now you have a company that's got an injection of $200 million in capital. Imagine what they could do with that money. That could be another potential catalyst. And to add to the SEC potentially dropping the appeal and this whole thing going away, this big piece of news broke today. Now, it is not directly related to XRP, but it could have resounding effects. This is from Brian Armstrong, the founder of Coinbase. Great news. After years of litigation, millions of our taxpayer dollars spent, and an irreparable harm done to the country, we reached an agreement with the SEC staff to completely dismiss their litigation against Coinbase. So they've already set a precedence. They've pulled the Coinbase lawsuit. Are we going to see something similar to XRP? Now, let's get back to the chart. I mentioned XRP is at a very pivotal level. This is the 4-hour chart on XRP. You can see here our cloud, the lower end of our cloud, has acted as very strong support. And although prices might be going down, I want to know we are still currently in an uptrend on the multiple timeframes for XRP. Now, this $2.57 level is key. There's actually an area you could probably long as well. Just make sure you don't use too much leverage, as you can potentially get liquidated. Now, one potential negative indicator we've seen is this bearish crossover on the MACD. But the good news is that crossover happened at a key support level, meaning it's more than likely to be invalidated or not even come to fruition at all. If you go to the higher time frames, XRP was actually having a really nice run, breaking out of a potential bull flag, but it got stopped out because of the Bybit news this morning. At the time of recording, I was found out that Bybit actually got hacked. It was ETH, not XRP, not any other altcoin, but of course it caused panic throughout the markets and people started selling. So are we going to come back? And you know what? I'll just throw some lines on here. You can see we are currently back into this pattern. We saw something similar with Chainlink. Chainlink saw similar in the chart and it started to break out. And again, we saw the Bybit news. So this was getting ready to break out, and this measured move would have taken us to well over $3.50. But I think now that we're back in, the lowest we can go, if that cloud support does not hold, we have some confluence on the 2-hour and the lower end of our trend line, which is right at $2.47. This is not financial advice, but if XRP happens to get down there, unless the market has completely tanked, something bad news came out, this is an absolutely easy long entry at $2.47 with your initial take profit, potentially maybe a 20% take profit at $2.58, just in case we stay within that parallel channel for an extended period of time. If not, your measured move, again, is $3.07 with support, with resistance right around $3.16 or $3.20. But that can all not matter. If we get the XRP ETF approved, if they go in and they find misconduct from the SEC lawsuit, we know they're making partnerships. We just had news in Europe, the ECB is partnering with Ripple. And the news that Donald Trump, the article he reposted on Truth Social, specifically mentioning Ripple and the amount of partners they've been starting to get because Donald Trump took office, I think that's all going to start to compound on itself. And we know with retail, just from an anecdotal standpoint, every single person that is new to crypto that I talk to, maybe not every single, but 8 out of 10, they always mention one coin, and that coin is XRP. So there's exciting times ahead. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and catch our live show Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. See you next one. Peace.